Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Have you finished your homework, Amr?
Yes, Baba.
That's great. So you're ready for the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam.
Yes, Baba. I really want to know what happened to him in the desert.
All right, now listen carefully. Bismillah. Prophet Musa alayhi salam hears the voice of God. Prophet Musa alayhi salam wandered in the desert for many days and nights. He traveled in the direction of Midian, which was the nearest town between Syria and Egypt. His only companion in the desert was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his only provision was piety. The hot sand burned the soles of his feet, but fearing pursuit by the soldiers, he forced himself to keep walking. Like this, he walked for 8 days and nights. The Prophet finally managed to cross the desert, and he reached the outskirts of Midian. After walking for some more time, he reached a watering hole outside the city. As soon as he reached the spring, he threw himself under a tree to rest for some time. As he caught his breath, he noticed two women standing aside with their sheep. They were standing far away, hesitant to approach the crowd. The Prophet sensed that the woman needed help. So being a man of honor, he ignored his thirst and went to them. "Can I help you in any way? Why are you standing aside?" he asked them. Then the older sister replied, "We are waiting until the men finish watering their sheep." "Why are you waiting?" he asked them again. "We are helpless," they said. "Our father is very old and he does not have the strength to face this crowd. If we go forward, the strong men will push us aside. So when these people are finished, then we take our animals to the water. It's our daily routine," they explained. The Prophet took the women's sheep to the water hole, where he easily pushed in amongst the men. When he approached the water, he saw that the shepherds had put a large rock to cover the well. The Prophet single-handedly lifted the rock and he let the animals drink. The people standing there were awestruck when they saw him lifting the stone with just one hand. He then returned to sit in the shade of the tree. That's when he realized that he had forgotten to drink. "Oh Lord," he prayed, "whatever good you can bestow on me, I am surely in need of it now." When the daughters returned home earlier than usual, their father was surprised. The daughters then explained what happened at the oasis and why they reached early. Their father wanted to thank the stranger, so he sent one of his daughters to invite the stranger to his home. One of the daughters returned to the Prophet and told him, "My father wants to reward you for your kindness, and he invites you to our home." He agreed and accompanied the maiden to her father. When they reached the house, the Prophet introduced himself and told him the story of his life. He then told them why he had to flee from Egypt. The old man comforted him. "Be grateful to Allah that you have managed to escape from those tyrants. You need not be afraid now." The old man and his daughters really liked the gentle behavior of the Prophet. They invited him to stay with them for a few days, and the Prophet was more than happy to accept their invitation. The host soon realized that the Prophet was a trustworthy man. One day, the old man approached him and said, I wish to marry you to one of my daughters. The Prophet was happy to hear this, but on one condition. The old man added, "You must agree to work for me for a period of 8 years," he said. The Prophet was a stranger in a strange land. Exhausted and alone, this offer suited him very much. He married the Midianite's daughter and looked after his animals for 10 long years. Time passed, and he stayed far away from his family and his people. This period of 10 years was very important for the Prophet. It was a time for major preparation. Musa alayhi salam completed 10 years of his service as he had promised. One day, suddenly he was overcome by homesickness. He started missing his family and the land of Egypt. He desperately wanted to return to Egypt. That night he went to his wife and said, "We shall leave for Egypt tomorrow." His wife agreed and they started packing their belongings. Musa alayhi salam left Midian with his family and traveled through the desert. They traveled for many days and finally reached near Mount Sinai. "I think we have lost our way," said the Prophet. The Prophet was confused, so he decided to camp there for the night. He then left searching for firewood to light up a fire. He kept searching and reached Mount Tur. As he walked, he noticed a fire burning on the top of the mountain. Musa alayhi salam walked towards the fire, and as he did, he heard a voice. "O Musa, I am Allah, the Lord of the universe," said the voice. The Prophet realized that it was indeed God talking to him, and so he walked towards the fire. Allah then asked the Prophet to remove his shoes as he was standing on a holy ground. God then revealed to him that he had been chosen for a special mission and asked him to follow his instructions. "And what is it in your right hands?" Allah asked him. "This is my staff," he replied, "on which I lean and with which I beat down the branches for my sheep." "Throw down your staff," the voice commanded. And no sooner did the Prophet throw down the staff that it turned into a wriggling snake. Musa alayhi salam was frightened and he started to run. But the voice said, "Fear not and grasp your stick. We shall return it to its former state." The Prophet was terrified of the snake. He then trusted the voice and placed his hand over the snake. It immediately transformed back into his staff again. The fear of Musa alayhi salam subsided and was replaced by peace as he realized that he was indeed talking to God. Next, Allah commanded him to put his hand inside the robe. The Prophet did as commanded, and when he pulled his hand out, it was shining brilliantly. Allah then commanded him to go to Egypt and face the Pharaoh. He told them that the Pharaoh had become arrogant and was suppressing the Israelites. Musa alayhi salam feared that he would be arrested if he returned to Egypt. So he said, "O Allah, I have killed a man among them, and I fear they will kill me." Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comforted him by saying, "Go and deliver this message to them. Show them the path of the truth. Take your brother Harun to assist you. They will not be able to harm you at all." Allah assured him of his safety, and the Prophet was convinced.
What happened next?
I will tell you that tomorrow.
MashaAllah, that was such a great story.
Now, are you ready for the questions?
Yes, Baba.
All right, now tell me, why did the Prophet escape from Egypt?
The Prophet had killed an Egyptian and that's why he had to flee from Egypt.
That's right. How did the Prophet find a place to stay in Midian?
The Prophet helped the daughter of an old Midianite to fetch water. That's why the family gave him food and shelter.
How long did Prophet Musa alayhi salam stay in Midian?
8 years. No, wait. It was 10 years. Isn't that right?
That's correct, my son. Now tell me the mountain where the Prophet found the burning flame.
It was Mount Tur.
MashaAllah, that was excellent, my son. I'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, Baba.